Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Lynne Wadsworth. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Lynne and I'm your host. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Lynne Wadsworth. She is the owner and founder of Holistic Health and Wellness and curator of the Energized Health Women's Club. She is an AADP Certified Holistic Health practitioner and life coach. She earned her certification through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York. She is also a Certified Wellness Cooking Instructor. Lynn's area of expertise involves working with women who are in midlife, who are tired of the changes they see and experience on a daily basis. She helps them achieve a higher level of health, allowing them to experience more energy, less belly bloat, fewer mood swings, headaches, sugar cravings, and weight loss. She believes that living in health and wellness takes in many areas of our lives, not just with diet and healthy eating. She helps her clients make permanent changes. Her passion and desire is to help women their mojo back again, lose weight, feel healthy, energized, and rejuvenated. Life is not over just because you have reached midlife. In fact, it can be fun, joyful, and fulfilling. She firmly believes life can begin at 40. So welcome being my guest on this show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Yeah. So I can see a lot of people, especially women, when they come into the 40s, their body has changed and they feel like also life is not the same as it has before. So can you tell me a little bit about your own story and how did you come to the point that you now can help other women?
So really, I started out in a different area, but it all kind of ties in with so many people and what they go through. So my health history started when I was just 2, and I had a tonsillectomy that knocked me out for weeks. There was such bad infection in there. Went on at age 16 when I had mono, where most people have it for 3 weeks. I was totally out of it, in bed for 6 months. They thought I had leukemia. Then I started with migraines at age 21. So, you know, all of those are autoimmune disorders. To an extent, I had no idea about that, but my health just declined more and more over the years, to the point where my migraines were daily and I never had any relief. And about that time, I was just so disgusted. My blood pressure was high, my cholesterol was high, and I have a family history of death as a result of heart issues. So the migraine and the health issues drove me to look for some answers. And actually, while I started going to college at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, I also personally went through our local hospital here has a wonderful natural clinic that works to rehab patients from migraines. So, you know, here they don't want to give you migraine meds, they give you narcotics. So by that time I was addicted to narcotics. So this program got me off narcotics, showed me natural holistic ways to deal with migraines while I was going through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, getting really the same information in more depth. So once I was armed with all of that information, I actually managed at that time to get off my cholesterol medicine, my high blood pressure medicine, and my migraines went down to about 2 to 3 times a month. So I'm a huge proponent on that healthy lifestyle, that holistic lifestyle, because it can make such a change for women. And then I kind of went on to realize that at my age, this is where it's at for people. They think that their life is over. They think the kids are out of the house. who am I? What am I going to do? So I started to focus on that area.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit more about your situation? You wrote in the information I got before that you have been a kind of a sugarholic.
Oh, yes. Well, in case you hadn't guessed, I grew up in England. Actually only came here because I married a what we then called GI, who was in the United States Air Force. So I was brought up in a culture of people loving their chocolate, especially because many people know that Cadbury's chocolate is British, and that's my love. So my dad would come home every week and would give us what we called pocket money, and my sister and I would head over to the little grocery store, or the little, it was a newsagent, and get our sweets for the week. And that kind of began to, emotionally now, I realized that was a comfort thing for me, a happy place. But then I went on in later life to just become somebody, and it was always chocolate. I would eat chocolate, and it had to be English Cadbury's chocolate. And I didn't realize at that time how what happens when you're addicted to drugs and real drugs, how it's the same chemicals in the brain that react. So really you get onto this whole thing of the more sugar you have, the more sugar you need. And I would stash my chocolate, and I can tell you, if my family found my stash and ate it, it was not a pleasant experience for them at all. It was really awful. I mean, it was like what an alcoholic would do when they hide their alcohol in drawers and cupboards and all over the place where they think people won't find it. I was the same with my chocolate. And it was only really after I went through the program and then I went on for further learning that I learned exactly what sugar does to us. And sugar isn't just about eating the chocolate. It's also in our processed foods, just about everything that we buy in the store that's not healthy for us. So I really claim to be a sugar addict, and I believe that they should have a Sugarholics Anonymous for us, because it's really a hard thing to kick. It really is no joke for us, and it's very, very detrimental. It causes inflammation, headaches, sickness and disease, and it's not healthy for us.
Yes, so for how long did you have this kind of addiction until you figured out, okay, this has also this huge negative impact on your body?
Really, until I went to the Integrative Nutrition School, when and I've been a health coach for 7 years. And it was really a lot of my own research from what they said that brought me to the realization, as I did more studying, that, oh my gosh, this is where it's at. And I have to say, because I am an addict to sugar, even today, if I was to pick up chocolate, I cannot have. So I tell my clients, if you like sweets, then go with a dark chocolate, have a piece or two. For me, I can't. If I have a piece, I've got to have the whole bar. So it was really the studies that have come out with how it is an actual thing that is the same chemical that addicts so many people to narcotics. It was a real eye-opener to me, and the statistics that I read were pretty shocking. And then when you look at what it does to your body, I don't know if you've ever had the visual of what even a pound of fat looks like. It's a very big glob. And so eating stuff like that was hard on me for migraines, because that is an inflammatory thing. At one point, I got to where my knees and my ankles were swelled up all the time. Of course, I got fatter and fatter as I was on this binge, but I learned some steps to get off the sugar and to eat a healthy lifestyle. And now I've learned how to put that chocolate in a different way. So like cacao powder, cacao nibs, where I can still have that feeling of chocolate. Or, you know, I've got many recipes for things like healthy chocolate muffins that don't have the flour and don't have the sugar in. So there are alternatives where you can get that chocolate fix, because you still get the taste, but you don't get the side effects.
Can you tell me a little bit more? So what were the reasons, despite of that chocolate taste as well, that you really felt this addiction and wanted to have more and more of the chocolate? What was behind?
Because in and of itself, chocolate. So for me, I don't think I had not really put together what the chocolate was in relation to an emotional component. So to me, it was just, oh, I'm addicted to chocolate. I learned how bad it was. I started getting off it. And then when my mum passed away 4 years ago, I went into a total tailspin. So then I started eating, not actually the chocolate, I started eating English candy, and it's just as bad because of the sugar content, that she and I would eat together in the evenings when I would go home to visit her, and I could get it at our local grocery store. So I just really went into a tailspin, and of course, because I am an addict, I couldn't just eat the 2 or 3 pieces of candy like my mum could. I had to eat the whole bag. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I've taken all these steps forward, and now I've just gone back into this whole down spiral again. So a health coach friend of mine started, she didn't actually coach me, but she gave me some coaching tips. And one of the best things that she told me to do was start writing letters to your mum, because my husband couldn't understand why I was still a year down the line crying about my mum being gone. We were very close. We were close as a family. And I couldn't keep complaining to my kids about how I was feeling, because, you know, a lot of people, they love you, but they'll only go so far with you when you're in the pits. So I did start writing to her, and I started journaling, and I realized that this was totally an emotional thing for me. It kept me connected to my mum. It kept me emotionally comforted. But basically what I wasn't doing was facing how I felt and dealing with how I felt and going through the process of grief. Journaling helped me so much. And then I have a friend who's a psychologist, and, you know, I was on the phone with her one day chatting, and she really helped me through some aspects of dealing with the grief. She had actually gone through the loss of a husband. And so not just does she do that with her clients, but she's experienced it personally. So, you know, there are different components. Different people do it for different reasons. Many people flat out do it because they are addicted to it. They don't realize they're addicted to it. Some people do it because there's an emotional component. Some people do it because there's a trauma in the past, and they don't even realize that this is a comfort for them. So there are so many issues surrounding that. You really have to dig deep into what is the core thing that's causing you to go into this spiral and being addicted to sugar.
Yeah. You also gave me some information about the situation when you were with your husband and he was in the military, and you had to care for your children kind of alone.
Yes.
So can you give us a little bit of information about that, and how your emotional situation was during that time, and how you
Yes.
behaved during that time?
So I really feel, looking back, I was a really bad mother. So we were living on a military installation in base housing. So, you know, there were certain guidelines. So it was really, really stressful, because I was actually working at that time as well. So I was working, and I have to say, I preface this with the fact that thank God for the military. The military support system for, certainly back then, for women whose husbands were overseas, if you took advantage of it, was second to none. And even to this day, I miss that camaraderie of the military. So I had a good support system, but that doesn't help you when you're on your own most of the day, day in, day out. And my kids were little. They were like 6 and 8. So I was having to do everything. And I say I'm a bad mother because sometimes we would go out to Baskin Robbins and I would buy a big, huge ice cream pie, and I would maybe give them hot dogs, which I would never give my kids these days. And I would do the quickest thing that I could that was totally unhealthy, and then we'd finish it off with all these sweets. And, you know, I really didn't take care of them because I didn't realize I wasn't taking care of me. I didn't understand a thing about self-care. I just did the best I could to get through one day at a time. Now, he'd been away before, weeks at a time, but this was the first time that he had been away for a year. So that Christmas, we had a 9-foot snowdrift, and I had to personally go out. And back then I was not a physically active person. I had to go out, shovel our whole driveway with one of those old-fashioned shovelers, and I had to shovel all of our sidewalk, and the kids were too little to help. So that about half killed me because I wasn't physically active. And then that same night, our hot water heater burst in the house. So yes, the military replaced the hot water heater, but it flooded the whole house, and, you know, all the carpeting was ruined, and I was dealing with all of that on my own. And I began to feel, so I was emotionally drained. I was physically exhausted. I had no idea of the ramifications on stress on the body. But by midway through that, I was absolutely convinced I was dying of cancer. And I know that that sounds dramatic, but my whole body felt like it had shut down, and it ate at me. God bless my mother, but she was a born warrior, and I picked up that habit, and I worried and I worried and I worried day in, day out that I got cancer and I wasn't going to live to see my husband come home, or if I did, that I wouldn't live past that. And what it's done in hindsight, and as a health coach and a life coach, is show me just what stress does to the body. So I actually went home to England during that period of time, and my mum took care of the children while I went over to visit my husband. And I spent the whole week with him, and all I did was cry. And he did not know what to do with me. I was a total mess. And of course, meanwhile, over there, he had the stress of being away from home, and he got high blood pressure that was stroke level, that they could not get a handle on. And when he finally came home, I sent him to the doctor that I was actually working with downtown at that time, who put him on medications because he was still stroke level, and got it under control. So, you know, from a military standpoint, it's not just the women left home alone. It's the men who go away, and they're away from their families, and they're in the midst of all of this calamity and awful situations. So that really, when I became a health coach and learned about stress and healthcare and self-care, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, no wonder I got so bad, because I had no clue how to take care of myself.
Yeah, so what I hear...
So obviously I got better.
Yeah, so what I hear that you really experienced all these situations for yourself that you're now teaching women, or you're coaching women through. So
yes,
this is not only about certificates, but it is really that having this kind of situations in your own life, understanding how it feels, and yeah, not pointing the finger on someone else and telling them, oh, you're doing not well, but you know how it really feels for yourself.
Yes. What I found is it helps me with my clients have them in a non-judgmental zone, because how can I judge them when I've been a mess myself in my life, and we're all taking it a day at a time. When we may be the best health or life coach there is out there, but it still doesn't mean that we've always got things in perfect order.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your clients. Who is normally coming to you, and what are their issues they do have?
So it varies from client to client, even though I niche down to the midlife people, and most of my clients are in midlife. Most of them at that point who I have now, some of them just come to me because they realize they need to live a healthy lifestyle, and I take them through a step-by-step process that makes it easy for them to grab onto that healthy lifestyle and live out their lives that way. Some come because they're a total mess. They don't understand what all of this is about when they get into perimenopause and menopause, and they feel like they've lost their minds. They feel like they're out of control. They wonder who they are because their whole lives have been wrapped up in their family and their children. So it's different things. Some of them, now they're taking time for themselves, realize they need to become a healthier version of themselves. Some of them have hormonal issues, or the raging mood swings, or the hot flashes, and they don't understand how to take care of it without taking HRT. Some of them haven't even realized that all of this can be associated with going into perimenopause. And some of them just come to me because they don't know why they have absolutely no energy, and they can barely put one foot in front of another. So it really still all boils down to that same core issue about teaching 5 or 6 pillars of health and wellness that will help them for a lifetime, whatever their situation. Some of them we go in deeper to, you know, what is it that's the root cause in there, because there might be some emotional or traumatic component in the past. But most of my clients range in the 40s to the mid 50s.
So how does your program look like? So what are the components you teach, and what is in? Can you give me a little bit more about that?
So yeah, there are some specific pillars. First of all, and one of the biggest things, is you look at the mindset and the belief system, because you have to deal with that before you can go any further. And then we go into the eating portion of it and living the healthy lifestyle with the food, because I don't believe that when we live a healthy lifestyle, it means deprivation or starvation. We've got to learn how to eat healthily and to enjoy our food and to allow ourselves some latitude there. We go into the pillar of exercise and movement, because it's so very important at that time in our life that we're moving our bodies. I go into some parts of time management. It depends on the people, but time management and self-care is another huge pillar that we go into. And of course, I didn't write it down. I feel like I'm missing one that's probably a core component, because it all kind of meshes into one for me, but because I deal with my clients on a one-by-one basis. So if I'm going into a group program with people, of course, there's the set things that we go into, and they can come along whether they're in the 30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever. But if I'm dealing one-on-one with a client, then, you know, the meal planning is another big one that I try to teach my clients. Meal planning, and then cleaning out the pantry and getting into the mindset of how you set yourself up to be successful.
Yeah. Can you go a little bit deeper into this mindset thing? Because what I see is that as long as people, for example, are not in self-love, they can't be in self-care. And if they have beliefs like, sugar will help me to come into energy, for example. Yeah. So can you give me a little bit more how you work on the mindset?
Yeah, so the mindset is a huge one that's kind of, again, it depends on the person as to what's been going on. But just a small example is, okay, so you get up on a Monday morning, you absolutely dread Mondays. It's the first day of the week, you've got to go to work. So there's a way that you can get out of bed with gratitude, thinking, here's another day that I have, that I'm alive and I'm well, and thank the good Lord I've got a job. So some of it just entails small mindset shifts in the way that they look at things. Instead of going into things in a negative way, going into it in a positive way. Gratitude plays a huge part in the way we can change our mindset, and using mantras or something that helps you, that you can stick on your mirror, you can learn them. If you're a person who is more spiritually oriented, you can use scriptures to really help you. If you're a person that likes just mantras, I used to stick them up on my wall. When I was at my heaviest weight, I'm 5'2", I'm very small boned. I was actually about 170 pounds. And I would look at myself in the mirror when I got down, and I went then to the other end of the spectrum and I became anorexic. So 105 pounds, or actually I got down to 98 pounds at one point. I'd look in the mirror and I would still see a fat person. So I would put things on my mirror like, you are not fat, you are a healthy, beautiful person, because I would have to get my mindset into that. So like for people who are going through menopause and they feel that their kids are leaving home, who are they? I am a beautiful woman. I have a full life ahead of me. I am capable. I am competent. This is the beginning of my life. Just short things that you can put in places where you can see them to begin to change the mindset. But then you may have to go into dealing with where these people are feeling lost because they've lost their children, and it's causing a connection to where their mindset isn't right. People who have maybe suffered trauma in the past and they've never dealt with it because they've had families to raise and they've stuffed it all down. So the British people are great at doing that. They were when I was living there and I was brought up. You stuff it all down, you don't talk about it. Children should be seen and not heard, and that carries on. So you're really unpacking layers of stuff for people. It's all part of the mindset and the belief system. So you have to teach people that maybe their beliefs weren't right. They are worthy of something. They do have great abilities. And it's a way of changing that mindset so they can see the beauty of who they are as a person.
Yeah,
it can be a huge, huge pillar.
Yeah. What I also hear is that often people in this age have to identify who they really are, kind of
Yes.
in a new way, because the old roles they have, like being the mother and caring for the children, or like being in the job, and now this stops somehow, and they have to find their new identity somehow again.
Yes. Yes, and a lot of people are like that. It's like you really ask yourself, and I remember going through that, you know, what am I doing here? Who am I? What's this all about? Because you spend all those years and all that energy, and that's why many teachings that you hear will say you've got to keep that connection with your husband throughout all of the years of your life that you've got children, because when your children are out of the house, that's who you're going to be with. And if you've grown apart, how are you going to work at connecting again? So some of that really is starting to learn early in a marriage how to stay connected with your spouse, because then also the other aspect is at that point in their lives, many women are finding themselves in that divorce situation. So yeah, there's sometimes a whole new identity to deal with, and dealing with trying to really drill down with them on, yes, who they really are. Do they have worth? Do they have a reason to live? So many women go into deep depressions during this period of time. And also with the hormone imbalances, it doesn't help, because that can often push women into depression or into anxiety. So it's really kind of bringing all of that out into light in a way that's not too intrusive, because you can only go as far as a person wants to let you go.
Yeah, so what also about, like, when you go into this hormonal change and women don't feel so attractive anymore, they feel like they're getting older, and yeah, somehow the media is showing now, women in that age, they are like the grannies, but they are not like the attractive women anymore. So what about this topic?
So, I mean, that is absolutely so not true. I'm a grandmother of 4 children. All of them are grown, and I don't feel that I'm old. One funny thing about age is, if people think about it, in our mind, we're still those same younger people. We still feel the same in our mind. And it is the media that really puts it off. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, because so many women go into their 60s and their 70s, sometimes their 80s, vibrant and fully alive and looking great. And I think to an extent that the media don't necessarily get through in the same way and make us believe that. But if people have that mindset, I begin to talk to them about that. What we eat, what we put into us, makes a difference in our skin, in our hair, the toxicity these days in the world, which is another pillar I go into with some people, because everything is toxic. Our cleaning supplies are toxic. Our makeup can be toxic. Our hair stuff can be toxic. So if we can get rid of some of the toxicity, and we can really take care of our body, continuing to exercise. I realize for some women, they may be dealing with things like arthritis or different conditions, but I still teach them movement, because it's not necessarily about, I've got to go spend 2 hours at the gym, I've got to be out an hour walking. It's about moving our bodies. And sometimes that can be an easy thing. Maybe somebody loves to garden. My gosh, that can be a very hefty way of exercising. It's changing their mindset, even in the way they think about exercise, changing their mindset in the foods that they can eat that can help them feel and look vibrant. It's about still wearing clothes that fit your body style, because, hey, did you notice that our body changes when we get older? I can no longer just go buy off the rack. I have to try something on. And in the pandemic, that's been kind of hard. So I found myself sending a lot more stuff back, because I'm still not really out in the stores. But it's finding something that matches your body and can make you look vibrant. Colors play a huge role in that. So I'm wearing a color today that's not really my color. I bought it as being bright pink. It came as being red, and with my dark hair, I'm supposed to have blue red. This is orange red. So there are different, just little tips for making. So white is a great color on you. White's a great color on me. It's knowing even what those colors are that can make you look more vibrant, and they make you look younger. So I just don't believe that stuff that the media tries to feed us anymore. And I try to teach my clients that life, to me, kind of begins at 40, even 50. We come into our own, we begin to know who we really are. We've got time to take care of ourselves in a better way. And we can decide how we want that to look for us.
Yeah, also very interesting to see that it really needs different aspects, like you said. No, it's about the mindset. It is also about how you feel about yourself. So it's about the emotion.
Yes.
It is also about how you have perhaps fun doing exercises. If you like gardening, and this is really sometimes an exercise, or doing the household.
Yes.
Like, it can be.
Yes.
But perhaps,
yes.
for me it was like. I figured out what are disciplines I did as a young girl. Like I played, for example, tennis. I didn't do that for a long time, but now I'm back playing tennis, for example. And dancing, it is so much fun doing the dancing. And so our understanding, what is it that gives you pleasure time while you exercise?
Yes.
Yeah, so it
Yes.
is not like hard work, but it is like having fun and pleasure time doing this. Also enjoying the food. And you said, understanding what are the toxins, for example, if you buy, it is not artificial food, processed food is the word. If you, so sometimes so understanding what really is healthy and organic food. So what are you teaching them about food and cooking and how to prepare healthy meals? Can you go a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, so I go by the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your food should be healthy, and then you allow yourself 20% to indulge a little. What you often find during that time is that it becomes a bit less, because as you get into that healthy lifestyle, you maintain it a bit more. So I always teach my clients to go on the outside of the grocery store, shop as little as possible on the inside. So now realize on the inside, you've got to go for your household goods, and you got to go for coffee and tea if that's what you drink. But to the fullest extent, you're on the outside of the grocery store, always eating the healthy, nutritious food, because you have to remember that what you could eat in your 20s and 30s is not foods that you can eat anymore when you hit your 40s, 50s, and 60s, because our bodies process things differently. We no longer need as huge amount of protein as maybe we did when we were younger. But if you're eating foods, and I try to teach my clients to eat from smaller plates, because portion control is a huge thing. You go into a restaurant, you could pretty much say, bring me half of it, box up the other half, because they've supersized everything. Our bodies don't need that much. And I tell my clients to make sure that you've got most of your plate with vegetables, a few grains, and be careful of the grains that you have, and then a small amount of meats if you're a meat eater. And really, at this part in our life, we shouldn't be eating red meat, because it is an inflammatory type of food, which we just don't need at this stage of life. And so I teach now, because everything is virtual. So sometimes I do videos on how to meal plan, or in my women's group, I will throw in pictures of what I've made over the weekend for my meal prep for the week, so that, and then I give them the recipes throughout the week. So a couple of weeks ago, I made those muffins that I talked about, and so they wanted the recipe for it. So I'm teaching them how to make healthy swaps. So for people coming into it, they can't necessarily do it all at once. For me, with my migraines, it was something I had to do, and I went in wholeheartedly. But I do teach them healthy swaps. So if you like, for example, if you like yogurt, my grandchildren laugh at me the way I say that. So if you like yogurt or yogurt, however you want to say it, don't go in and buy, and I'm going to pick on Yoplait. So we go in and we look at it and we think, oh, this is great because it's only got so many calories and such a small percent of so like you've got 1% or 2% like you do with milk. So it's important to remember that when they're making that product, what they've done is they've stripped out all the nutrients from it, and then they put back in processed foods and chemicals, artificial sweeteners, so that it tastes better. So that I learned very quickly triggered migraines for me, because I used to do that. So I teach them that instead of doing that, I know it goes against everything that you've been taught, because you've got calories in your head or maybe points in your head. Go in and buy a whole fat Greek yogurt, get a blender, buy some fruits, blend them up yourself. If you want to put in a little bit of pure maple syrup or a little bit of honey or something to sweeten it, and then make your own. Top it with a few nuts. You've got a healthy, you could actually eat that for breakfast, or if you leave the fruit whole, you can eat it for breakfast. It will keep you full for the day. Whereas that yogurt, after an hour, you're going to be starving hungry, and you've had no nutrition whatsoever. So I teach them how to recognize what's nutritious, that's going to keep them full and satiated for hours at a time, versus eating something that might be low in calories and might sound great, but it's not healthy for us, and it's not going to keep you full. And when they can learn that and see it and make those healthy swaps, they begin to see a difference in how they feel, how they look, how their weight is. It's really just amazing the way it works. It blows all of those other theories out of the water.
Yeah, so I totally understand that. So like eating the calories is one thing, but having healthy calories that feed your body well, this is important, not
Yes.
like
Yes.
eating like the substitutes that are included and that make it look good on the advertising of this product.
Yes.
My
Yes.
my grandmother always said, like, don't eat anything that they need to advertise. So yeah, this is like, you will not see in the TV that they advertise, or like the fresh apples or something like that. So eat that.
Right.
What is not advertised is one of my rules. And of
Yes.
course, living here in Madeira,
Yeah.
it is very easy, because we have all this fruits and veggies that are grown
Yeah.
here. So when I look out of my window, I see bananas and orange trees. So yeah, this is right. Yeah, I can pick them
Yes.
up like that. They're
Yes.
fresh as they can be. No? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in between Orlando and Tampa. So we have the same thing. And of course, it's blueberry season at the moment. So what I say to my clients is, if you can't have fresh, your next best is frozen. So go pick. So can't do that so much with apples, but go pick blueberries. And then the best way to freeze them when they're in season is to put them into a bag. Don't wash them. You just stick them into the bag, and then you take them out, and then you wash them off when you've taken them out. And you're much better off eating the foods that are in season locally for you. So one thing I love that I miss from home, and I miss from the northern parts of the US, are apricots. So now I know when apricots come in May, June, they're not really locally grown, but I love them. And so I pretty much get all of the grocery store like there. And I've been, of course, still having my stuff delivered, and they've done a pretty good job at bringing me apricots. But I know when I would say I need apricots, where are they? They're not really familiar with them. But then I will take them and I will put them straight into a bag. I cut them and take the big seed out, throw them into the freezer, and then every time I make a smoothie, I've got apricots there, and I buy enough to last me for the whole year.
Okay, so you also have a big freezer, I think.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, wow. So you already gave me and my audience so many insights. If now people would like to reach out to you, how they can they come in contact with you?
Yeah, my website is holistic and then this is all written out, healthandwellness.com. On there I have a free hormonal giveaway. On Facebook, I'm Holistic Health and Wellness LLC, or you can just go to Lynne Wadsworth and find it there. But I also have a group where it's all happening. It's called the Energized Healthy Women's Club. And this month we have a walking challenge going on. Next month, I'm not going to give it away because I don't know yet, but we have another kind of challenge for the month. We've always got something going on in there. Of course, I'm on Instagram, Pinterest, but really it's Facebook and my website.
Okay, so I will put the links down in the description and people can click on that and easily reach out to you. So now,
thank you. And of course, if they do that and they click on my contact me page, I'm more than happy to do a free consultation with them.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And now, last but not least, do you have some tips for the audience before we close our interview?
Yeah, a couple of tips. Of course, I gave one about eating, only buying from the outside of the grocery store. Do try to stay away from processed food. Processed food, the package may say this is healthy because it's got 1 or 2 healthy things in it, but processed food is not healthy. I would also say if you are feeling that you're too tired, you're feeling emotionally unstable, then check with somebody like a health coach or a life coach or even your doctor to see what your hormone levels are. At this stage in your life, it's really important to realize that we still can have that energy and vibrancy of life. So there's something really not quite right there. So, you know, always be realistic and think about, although we may not like doctors, at some point we may have to have those hormones balanced out so that then we can learn how to live that healthy life, because you don't have to be on HRT to be healthy and happy through menopause.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much for giving me this interview and sharing all your insights.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you as a guest on my show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Okay, so bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.